Continuing our reading in Hellbent for Election by Phyllis Speshock, Chapter 19. We arose then to leave the apartment. I suppose, I said coldly, you are quite happy now that you have wrung from me the very thing I did not wish to discuss. He sent me a glance saturated with surprise. Why, I am always happy, Hellbent, and with a happiness that is not at all dependent upon yours, nor any other human's. You see, I am not on this side of the fence at all. I could go to hell and you wouldn't even care, Alexis. He elevated his tinsel brows. I should do all that I could to prevent it, but your self-induced misery could in no way impair my utter joy. That doesn't even seem decent, that souls could be lost, as the term goes, and that you could go on cavorting through eternity. But Hellbent, so may you. That isn't the idea at all. The idea is that you seem to have no sorrow whatsoever. But of course not. Why should I sorrow? Or why should any of you? You have been given a choice. However, if your choice were to lead you to hell, why should that hinder the happiness of the rest of us? Do you wish to control our bliss? Do you feel that the inhabitants of hell should have any sway up above? To feel that would be to feel that Lucifer should have got his own way and become the center of things. Surely you did not want that. I don't know what I want, that is, I added quickly, except peace, which I am positive cannot be had among believers. Well, he said, we shall get to that, but for now, let us be off. Shall we jump out of the window? Honestly, Alexis, I grunted, must you ever be so playful? You know it will not be any more fun than the hay shoot. Besides, you must have done it millions of times before. You don't have to impress me. Impress you? He laughed. If I really wanted to impress you, I would, with his permission, perform some major miracle and not toy with trifling frolic. Oh, no. You misunderstand altogether. I am filled with enormity of gladness and must express it. Come. And with that, he ran to the window and gave a great leap, out through the glass without disturbing so much as the dust on the sill, and down to the ground with a feathery bound. Doggedly I followed and felt nothing at all, except that where I had been, there, I was now here. With all that effervescence, I commented when we started down the street, it's a good thing you do stay on the bright side. He chuckled, stepping over the cracks in the sidewalk again. That is a certainty, he said, for surely Lucifer, blast him, caused more evil than any man who has ever gone bad, and surely man has caused more evil than any animal that has ever gone bad, and so on it goes. Our capacity for good also determines our capacity for bad. Not, he added with a glint of a grin in my general direction, that you have failed to cause your share of sorrow and mischief. I grunted aloud. And that is why, I announced bitterly, you are now about to take me on some round of the various churches I attended, to grub out my disputes and attempt to change black into white by means of mystical magic and quicksilver controversy. Oh, to the churches, yes, he said, but not to alter any facts. You will see. Meantime, tell me what happened when you confessed to Della that you had become a Christian. I am presuming that you did tell her first of all. I sighed. Yes, Alexis, I told her first of all. I went to their house on my own afternoon off. Truthfully, I stalled until then, experiencing such commingling of confusion and embarrassment that I found it necessary to practice memorizing speeches. When I got there, she was in the living room on the floor teaching Vicey to play with modeling clay. I sat down and we exchanged the usual amenities. Then suddenly, she said in her knowing way, you came to tell me something, Wilful. You might as well come out from behind that bush and say it. And I, turning red, I'm sure, forgot all the words I had memorized and simply blurted, Della, I have become a Christian. Yes, Hellbent, yes. I still scowled with shame, Alexis, remembering the horror on her lovely face. She gasped. She turned white. Then she screamed and clapped her hands to Vicey's ears so that the child would not hear and begin to know. You will be with them, Wilful, she cried, and she started to weep loudly. You will be one of them. I too. Yeah, I too realized the gravity of what I'd done. I had separated our souls. You can't, Wilful, she wept. You can't. You must somehow retract the belief. I remember how helplessly I felt trapped in it. Della, I said, it's impossible. There was no alternative. It was the only logical solution. And then she screamed, Solution? I should think it was the beginning of damnation to be condemned to the fangs and talons of our parents' relatives. Oh, I forgave you, Vicey, but I cannot forgive you this. By this, you have placed an insurmountable wall between us forever. I tried to explain to her that I would not join either of the churches of our relatives and that if she liked, I would be not joining any church at all. I tried to tell her that it was not a decision of freeing or feeling or emotion or foolish sentimentality, but that it was one of cold, reasonable sense. I promised I would not come around preaching to Vicey or Non, and that I would in no way behave as our parents' relatives had, nor even mention my belief inside their home. But she only hissed, You will radiate with it. You will smell of it. They all do. In the end, I left without her forgiveness. Alexis shook his head. Too bad, he said. Too bad, Hellbent. What did you do then? Well, I said, wrestling my mind from Della's heartache, my belief demanded that I set things right. I began with folly transient. I located her family after some searching and learned that she had married someone else. You actually intended to marry her at that late date? Yes, I felt I should. I did not love her, but that was not really important. Not as important as humans like to make out. For that kind of love is, after all, an emotion which only triggers deeper, more important involvement. I felt that we could achieve contentment, especially since I was willing to shoulder the blame and not, and do the most part of the adjusting. I see. And did you talk to her at all? Yes, against her parents' wishes. I went to see her and to offer my apology, which was very little. Still, being the romantic she was, I thought it would make her at least fleetingly happy to know I would have married her if it had been possible. How did she react to this? Not well, Alexis, and she could not be blamed. It seems she had not told her husband of me or the child. When she saw me, she cried, Get out before Dupe comes home. There was nothing else to do. Yep, there was nothing else to do but leave the past alone. Well, at least you tried. That is on the credit side. Not, he added, that you want the credits, but tell me, did Della remain aloof? No, Non came home from work, and they talked it over, and he convinced her that I had always been a frustrated, hapless fellow, and that it was not the human way to withhold forgiveness. She came to see me and said that under the circumstances I had outlined, I might continue to visit them, but she also promised to do all in her power to dissuade me and to subvert what she called the hostile force. But look, Alexis, we're by the school, and the children seem to be coming home to lunch. He shook his head. No, Hellbent, he said quietly. Do not get your hopes up. Vicey did not go to school today. Remember, you were just interned yesterday. That is your corpse. We went along silently, then, while the children laughed and skipped about us. Presently, Alexis said, Let us go up this way, Hellbent. And we turned and went south. And that's the end of chapter 19.